invincible. If you let your guard down, I'm not gonna let you fall.
Guys, this is episode 10 of In It Together with Gabby and Sammy. Thank you guys for joining. Cody, Sean, Sammy's here. I see y'all. Y'all are here from the beginning. And if I see you at the end, thank you for sticking around and hanging out with us the whole time. My name's Gabby. This is a show called In It Together with Gabby and Sammy that goes live on Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here in the stream. My co-host Sammy just joined us in the comments. She is a licensed mental health counselor, and she'll be getting in the box here shortly. I just want to thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate every one of you for coming and hanging out and getting educated together. So we're going to start off the show here with our intro. Maybe. Here it is. Thank you guys so much for joining. I appreciate you all.
If you let your guard down, I'm not gonna let you fall. Hold on to me now, I'm not invincible. Drowning in self-doubt, can you pull my demons out? Oh, it's all on the table. Nothing to hide. Hold on to me now. You're not invincible. I'll carry you somehow. The weight of you makes me strong. Hold on to me now. I'm not invincible. They're dragging me under.
Guys, thank you so much. So it appears that I might not be trending. I looked at your comments. I sent Chris a message, so that should be taken care of here shortly. I just want to thank you guys for being here. If you're new to my stream or you're new to the show, this is In It Together with Gabby and Sammy. We do the show every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we talk about coping with emotional, social, and psychological well-being to promote self-healing and self-development. On every show, we have a new topic that we cover, and we talk about, we give you guys education, advice, and tips you can use on during your everyday life on your journey to happiness. So we're in it together. That's why we do the show. So I'm really excited that we have this platform to spread awareness and positivity to you all. So if you guys were here last week, or maybe if you missed last week, we talked about art and its impact on our mental health. We had about 18 artists that had their art featured, and 9 of them were actually in the box talking with us about how art impacted them, their inspiration behind their pieces, and it was a really awesome show. If you missed it, I have a YouTube channel where I record all the shows and we have them up there. Just look up Gabby Uke on YouTube, subscribe, and you'll always be able to watch those shows again if you miss them. This week we are talking about sleep. All of us should be able to relate, so I'm really excited. I'm really excited to dig into this. So to give you a rundown of what we're going to do today, So first I'm going to go through the Instagram questions. We always post questions up, usually around Wednesday or Thursday for the following week. So if you guys ever want to be involved or potentially be a guest in the show, the best way to do it is to answer those Instagram questions. It's just super cool to get some personal content on here for the show. After we go through these answers on Instagram, Sammy will join us in the box We will have our stats and facts section, which Sammy loves. It's her favorite. We're going to talk about the stages of sleep, why sleep is so good for our health, and why a lack of sleep can hinder our health. Then stay tuned because Chris, he's in the comments. He's a top badge on this app. He is a very talented individual, such a kind-hearted person. He was my coach on Before and After with Aaron Kirby. He's such an awesome person to be friends with and to work with. He's going to get in the box. We're going to talk to him a little bit about his sleeping habits, what he has mastered, what he might need help with, and he's going to give us advice that he might have as well. And then after Chris is in the box, we're going to wrap up the show with some tips on how to get better sleep. So thank you guys so much for being here. I'm so excited. I learned a lot. This past couple of weeks on this topic. So I'm really excited to share my knowledge with you guys. So the first question on the Instagram post was, how much sleep do you get on average every night? So I put it at 7 hours or more and 6 hours or less. So 62% said 6 hours or less. I'm just curious, if you sleep for 7 hours or more per night on average, hit a 1. If you sleep for 6 hours or less on average, hit a 2. It's a lot of twos. I'm actually in the 7 hours or more category for this one. A lot of twos. Well, you guys are in the right place. My next question for you guys was, do you follow a sleep schedule? I was actually really surprised. I was really surprised by this one. So 80% of my followers said, no, I don't follow a sleep schedule. If you guys do follow a sleep schedule, hit a 1. If you do not follow a sleep schedule, hit a 2. Wow, I'm really surprised. I'm really surprised by that one. Sammy and I will get a little deeper into those questions in a moment. My next question for you guys on Instagram was, why do you struggle or why do you have trouble sleeping? And here's some of your responses. You have too many thoughts running through my head. Can't put my phone down because of my back pain. A bad sleeping routine. Because I nap all day at work. Shame on you, by the way, whoever answered that question. I know who you are. Depression causes trouble sleeping, anxiety, the temperature of the room, work, and a lot of other stuff. Having high energy, high anxiety. Maybe you live somewhere with roommates or people who are yelling or just up and making commotion. You can't sleep. Restless mind and way too many TikToks. I'm guilty of that one for sure. Night shift syndrome, running thoughts, anxiety and feeling restless, insomnia, fibromyalgia pain, watching TV, my mind doesn't shut off, and there you have it. So thank you guys so much for taking the time out of your day to answer those questions on Instagram. Please follow us if you would ever really like to participate in this part of the show. Our Instagram is inittogether_MeetMe. So if you're just joining, we just kind of covered some of the questions I asked on Instagram to you guys. And now we're about to have Sammy J in the box to talk about your responses. And then we're going to dig into some stats and facts. Sammy J, here she is. Hello, Sammy. How's it going?
It's going well.
That's good. So we went through some of the Instagram questions, and I'm gonna go to the very first one, the stat here. 62% of people get 6 or less hours of sleep. How do you feel about that? I gotta turn my gifts off here because they're loud.
I honestly, I didn't. Well, we did find a little bit of stats on that.
We did find a little bit of stats, yeah.
I would think that our sample is probably a little skewed as far as I would think our sample probably uses technology a little bit more than maybe the regular US population. So I would think it might be a little bit off, but I'm not 100% sure on that one.
Okay, and this one, so I actually asked these questions on my personal Instagram and my show Instagram just to kind of, because I'm curious, I usually pick the one with the most, or I'll average it out. But this one was the same on both Instagram pages. 80% of people don't follow a sleep schedule. And a lot of people here just admitted that they do not follow a sleep schedule. So I was just kind of surprised by that.
Yeah. I think based on the first question, that doesn't surprise me. So I think for that sample, it makes sense that that's what we're seeing.
Cool.
Because you guys will learn better about that later, why that makes sense.
Okay. And I did send a message to Chris Casper. I'm not sure if he got it or not, but if anybody here happens to be close to Chris, you can contact him. That would be really awesome. I owe you one.
Thank you, Poppy Stark.
Yes, but let's move on here. So we're going to get into the stats and facts section of the show now, which is Sammy's favorite. So we all know that a lack of sleep probably isn't the best for us. It affects us psychologically. It affects our mental health. And if you have a mental health disorder, there's a really good chance that you do have a sleeping disorder.
Yeah, definitely. So there's over 70 different kinds of sleep disorders. So everybody take a deep breath. We're not going to get into them. I know in the past we've kind of dabbled in some diagnoses and that kind of stuff, but
That's a huge number, though. I didn't know there were that many.
It's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I am going to just, the big ones are obviously insomnia, sleep apnea, different kinds of movement syndrome. So like restless leg and that kind of stuff. That's probably why it's such a long list, is all those different ones.
Yeah.
And then narcolepsy. So those are kind of like the most common ones that we see within mental health and just kind of in general. If somebody's suffering from a sleep disorder, it's probably one of those. So this stat though, like blew my mind, and it still blows my mind like every time I read it. So chronic sleep problems affect 50 to 80% of the psychiatric population. So people with a psychiatric diagnosis, 50 to 80% of them will have a sleep problem, compared to just the general US population, which is only 10 to 18%, which is still high, but in comparison, that's a huge disproportion.
Yeah.
Because there is, a large amount of people that have a psychiatric diagnosis. So to see that at least half or more of them have a sleep problem, but less than 20% of the US population does, is kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah.
At least to me it is. So sleep problems are common with anxiety disorder, bipolar disorder, ADHD, depression. So when we were looking through people's Instagram comments, right, we heard a lot of like, I can't turn my mind off, I have racing thoughts, all these kinds of things, which are all symptoms of all of those disorders, really. So that makes sense. Sleep problems are seen as a symptom of psych disorders. So usually, again, I've talked in the past about like our book that helps us to diagnose people. So usually when we're looking at what symptoms does the person have, like some kind of sleep problem is usually something we look for in a lot of diagnoses. But these studies kind of make us question, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Are people developing psychiatric disorders because their sleep is so messed up, or because of the psychiatric disorder, did it cause them to have sleep problems? So the studies are kind of showing that potentially if you're having sleep problems, you could develop a psychiatric disorder after that. So you really want to pay attention to that and like get right on that if you notice that happening and you don't have a psychiatric diagnosis yet.
Yeah. I feel like I can relate to that because I used to work night shift at one point, and it literally made me like, I went insane working on night shift.
I could not do it.
And speaking of
for this.
Yeah. But speaking of staying up late, because we're up late watching the show, so thank you guys for taking the time to be here. How many of you guys use caffeine as a way to cope with your lack of sleep? Whether it's coffee, energy drinks, maybe there's even like the pills that have caffeine in them. Hit a 1 if you use caffeine as a way to cope with lack of sleep. Me too. Me too. Yeah. So if any of you guys are like super avid, like caffeine drinkers, like I feel like some people who like energy drinks are like they're on, you know what I mean? Like they're drinking those energy drinks every day. I used to be that person. But this might be very interesting for you guys. So caffeine actually disrupts our circadian melatonin rhythm, and that's our internal clock. So caffeine actually disrupts that, and it's supposed to help you know, oh, I should go to sleep now. Oh, it's daylight. Let me wake up. Well, it actually decreases one of the stages of sleep. And we're going to talk about the 4 stages of sleep here in a little bit, but it disrupts stage 3. So I'll kind of reference back to that here in a little bit. Drinking caffeine within 6 hours of going to sleep can actually decrease your sleep time by at least 1 hour. So maybe keep that in mind. Some people drink it like in the middle of the day to try for like a pick me up. It might be doing more bad than good for you. There is a chance you can overuse caffeine to the point where you actually will develop symptoms of insomnia, or if you have insomnia already and you're using caffeine as a way to cope, it can actually make your symptoms worse. So yeah, caffeine is not a replacement for sleep. It's not. There's actually some people who drink caffeine and they don't feel that alertness that they're trying to get, like they just feel nothing. But that turns into a cycle because you're trying to get that alertness from your caffeine beverage and then nothing happens, but then your circadian rhythm is all messed up because you drank that beverage. Even though it didn't help you then, it's definitely not helping you later. So that just turns to a big cycle of continuing to drink the energy drinks or the coffee, not sleeping, and then just doing it all over again. Yeah.
So besides caffeine, who uses alcohol or nicotine to help with sleep? Put a 1 if you use alcohol. I'll put a 2 if you use nicotine.
If you're, that's a vulnerable question. Who's willing to answer that? Both. I know some people like to have their cigarette before they go to bed, right? Yeah, I don't smoke, so I can't relate, but
yeah. So I'm here to inform you those are bad ideas. Those are just, what do they call that? Like, not stigma, but like stereotypes of things that will help. Vaping does count if it has nicotine in it. So alcohol is a mild sedative. I will give you that. But what happens is the effects of the sedation part wear off really, really quickly. But what stays is it starts to arouse your mind. So what will happen is you're going to potentially pass out. Yeah, that might help. But then you're going to wake up because it is stimulating parts of your brain and it arouses it and it makes it hard for you to sleep. And I know that happens to me, definitely. I noticed that after having a couple of drinks, I cannot sleep. Like, I do not sleep well. And I'm like, why does everybody tell me that drinking will help? Because it doesn't help. So I know I've experienced that.
Me too.
It also, and nicotine is actually a stimulant. So it is actually causing you to wake up. It speeds up your heart rate, which can also speed up your thinking. So nicotine is not a good thing to use before bed, just like caffeine.
Yeah. So in a perfect world, we actually sleep for a third of our life, which is really pretty insane. A third of our life, that's huge. And that just goes to show you how important sleep really is to have like a good quality life. The number of hours we sleep is important, and we're going to get to it. But before we talk about that, Sammy is going to take us through the 4 stages of sleep. And take it away.
Alrighty, guys. So this is going to be a lot to kind of throw at you at once. So I'm going to try to go sort of slow, but sort of not spend too much time on it because I know this isn't the most interesting part. But I think it is good for you guys to have kind of a basic knowledge of the 4 stages.
This is a pen and paper episode, by the way. If you guys are like real serious about trying to like you control your sleep and not let sleep control you, I would recommend grabbing like a pen and paper today because yeah.
Okay, so a lot of these are averages. So disclaimer, this does not apply to everybody. So on average, the average person should go through their 4 stages of sleep 4 to 6 times a night. And each cycle lasts approximately 90 minutes, except for the first cycle. The first cycle is probably about 70 minutes. It's a little bit shorter. But again, that kind of varies. And as I'm going through the stages, the amount of time spent in each stage kind of varies for each person too. So the first stage, the first 3 stages really don't have fancy names. They're stage 1, 2, 3. If you want to be technical, it's NREM 1, NREM 2, and REM 3, essentially non-REM. The goal is to get you to your REM sleep, which is stage 4. So stage 1 for the average person lasts about 1 to 5 minutes. It's not super long at all. This is that dozing off period where you notice like your body's twitching a little bit. You like kind of aware of what's going on, but you're not super aware. But you're super easy to wake up during that time period. If there's, you know, a noise or something, you're probably gonna jump and pop right out of it. So that's stage 1. Stage 2 is NREM 2. It lasts about 10 to 60 minutes, which is a really huge time span. So it just kind of depends on the person. You okay?
I just nonchalantly choking on my water over here.
Pass out. You can't do the Heimlich screen.
No, I think we're cool. Sorry about that. I tried to suffer in silence, but it didn't work.
It doesn't work. Just let it out, girl. So during stage 2, we're gonna notice a drop in our temperature, our body temperature. Our muscles are gonna start to relax. We're gonna have decreased heart rate, decreased respiration rates, all those kinds of things. If you look at a brain scan while you're asleep during this brain scan, you're gonna notice like short bursts of brain activity, which helps us to be from being woken up by stimulus. So this is where we're really starting to get deeper. Typically people spend about half their sleep in this stage, which is kind of interesting, especially because not a lot of helpful stuff goes on in this stage. So really the goal is to at least get to stage 3, definitely, hopefully stage 4, but at least stage 3. So stage 3 is NREM 3. It lasts about 20 to 40 minutes for the average person. This is our deep sleep stage, or sometimes people will call it the delta sleep stage, because the brain waves that we see during this stage are called delta waves. During this stage, it's helping to contribute to a lot of our insightful thinking, our creativity, and our memory. This stage also helps with our immune system and like our bodily recovery and growth. So if we've had like physical damage done, this is where our body's really going to heal itself during this 20 to 40 minute time period.
This stage is also the stage where if you just are coming in, we said a fact about how energy drinks, caffeine in general, can affect your sleep. This is the stage that gets decreased if you drink energy drinks before you go to bed.
Yes,
or within 6 hours of going to sleep, I should say.
Yeah, so if this stage is getting interrupted, you're missing out on boosting your thinking, your creativity, your memory, your immune boosting, all that kind of stuff, right? So for this stage, also the first half of the night, you spend the most time here, but that is kind of replaced with, it gets shorter as the cycles go on, and then you end up spending more time in REM sleep and less time in this stage 3 sleep. So finally, we get to stage 4. That is our REM sleep. This is the good, all the dreams, and lots is going on during this. So typically this period lasts from 10. Stage 4 is the REM sleep. That's what we're going over right now. It lasts for about 10 to 60 minutes, depending on the person, which to me was like mind-boggling, because I was like, sometimes my dreams feel really, really long. So that makes sense. Maybe I'm spending like a whole hour in this.
Yeah.
So during this stage, our brain levels actually pick up. So it almost looks like you're awake if you're just looking at like brain activity of somebody. If you're not physically looking at their body, it almost looks like their brain is awake. But during this stage, only our eyes and our breathing are happening. So literally our body is paralyzed during this stage. Only our eyes are moving and our breathing is happening. So I don't know if anybody has heard of sleep paralysis. But that is what is happening when sleep paralysis occurs, is the person is being woken up suddenly and their body is not having time to do what it needs to do to make you not paralyzed anymore. So if you can kind of rationalize that in your head, that's going to help you with that sleep paralysis. It's like, I'm okay, my body just needs a minute to catch up. So it's called the REM sleep because the eye movement's moving back and forth. So REM stands for rapid eye movement. This stage is believed to help with memory, creativity, and learning. So these are really important things too. Again, very vivid dreams during this stage. You can have dreams during stage 3 as well. I don't know why my light keeps going off on my screen.
Oh, you look fine to me. I haven't. Okay. Oh, maybe that's
like
the box
my
problem
ring light's not going
about.
off, but my like screen is acting like it's not active. It's very weird.
Oh.
I have to keep clicking it. So you can sleep, you can dream during stage 3. It's just not as vivid. So those of you who are saying that maybe that I don't have like vivid dreams and that kind of stuff, it might be because you're dreaming during stage 3 and you're not hitting that stage 4, or you're just not dreaming during that. I don't know if it's possible to not dream during stage 4. I didn't really look into that. I can if you want me to. So, and this attributes to about 25% of our sleep for people that don't have sleep disturbances and such.
Cool. So those are the 4 stages of sleep. So we know the 4 stages, which by the way, kind of off topic, but whenever I learned about the sleep paralysis and how it happens in stage 4, I actually almost I don't usually fall asleep with my back much, but I did. And then I woke myself up in a panic and I was like, what if I'm in REM sleep right now and I'm paralyzed? I freaked myself out. Off topic. But that's
where you tell yourself, I already learned that if I do, it's okay. My body's going to catch up. It's just going to take a second. It's just going to take a couple of seconds.
So Sammy, why is knowing these 4 stages of sleep so important?
Yeah. So it helps us to understand why those that have different sleep disorders and sleep disturbances may have more problems, either psychiatrically, physically, all kinds of things. So if we can figure out like where it is that you're struggling in your stages, we can figure out why you're maybe having the different problems that you're having. So it is important to know this information, at least on a very basic level.
Okay, now we are at the question I think a lot of us might be asking, and that is, how much sleep should we really be getting on average per night? So I was just curious, if any of you know the answer, could you put it down in the comments? I'm just curious if you guys know.
What's the answer?
7 hours, 4 hours, 6, 7 to 8, 6, 8, 8, 7 to 9. Matt, you got it, my friend. 7 to 9 hours is the amount of sleep that, and I will say it depends on the age. So the age range I have is from 18 to 64. As you get older, you actually require less sleep, but from 18 to 64, you require about 7 to 9 hours on average per night.
And I believe those preteens and teens need a lot more sleep.
Yeah, you need even more sleep the younger you are, and the older you are, you need less. So cool rule of thumb there. So guys, if you are just tuning in, this is In It Together with Gabby and Sammy. I am Gabby. This is Sammy with me in the box. She is a mental health therapist, and together we do the show on Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We talk about different topics that are related to mental health, and today we're talking about sleep. We just got done telling you guys some stats and facts. We talked about the 4 stages of sleep, and now we are going to start telling you some good stuff. So what 7 ways that a good night's sleep can boost our health. So the first way that a good night's sleep can boost our health is by boosting our immunity.
Yes. So our immune system creates this funny term that they call sleepiness inducing factors. It sounds so nice, doesn't it? Sleepiness inducing. So because of inactivity and sleep help to fight infection. So during sleep, this sleepiness inducing factor is released and it helps us fight infections. Pretty self-explanatory there.
Another way that sleep can help us boost our health is actually it helps with weight management.
Yeah, I found this stuff kind of fascinating for those of us that struggle with not loving our weight very much. Just if you get your sleep schedule figured out, you might help yourself a little bit there. So people, again, these are averages. I know this is not everybody. People who sleep 8 hours tended to have the lowest BMI. So that's the way of measuring your body to fat, your muscle to fat ratio, right? That's BMI.
8 hours. You said 80 hours.
Oh, 8. Sorry.
8.
Sorry. That's 8. Just 8, not 80.
8 hours.
I did work before this, guys. I worked before this. My brain's slowing down. So 8 hours of sleep tended to have the lowest BMI. which that's what most people want. While those that slept less than 6 hours had higher than average BMIs. So what happens is when you have a lack of sleep, it causes us to create lower levels of a thing called leptin. Leptin helps alert the brain when it's eaten enough food. So if you don't have enough leptin, your brain's not going to be like, hey, stop eating that burger, you're full. It's just going to tell you keep eating it because it tastes good. It also, lack of sleep causes higher levels of a thing called ghrelin. I think that's what we decided that was called.
Yeah.
Ghrelin stimulates your appetite. So not only is your brain saying keep eating that burger because you're not full, it's also saying keep eating your burger because I think I'm hungry when I'm not hungry, because it's stimulating you too much. So I thought that was just fascinating.
So the third way that a good night's sleep can help boost our health is by boosting our mental well-being.
Yeah, so we already kind of touched on this a little bit, guys. Chronic sleepiness can lead to mood disorders because it increases our stress, our sadness, our anger, our mental exhaustion, and it decreases our optimism and our sociability. So study shows that less than six hours, I'm trying to make sure I'm saying the right numbers now, less than 6 hours for those with depression and anxiety. So most of the people that have depression and anxiety get less than 6 hours of sleep.
So another way that sleep can help boost our health is by preventing diabetes, which I found pretty cool.
Yeah. So study shows that when people get less than 5 hours of sleep, it increases the risk for diabetes. So that's kind of scary. So what happens is when we have a lack of sleep, our brain is not processing glucose the way that it should. I don't know exactly why that is, but that is what's happening, is it's not processing your glucose right. So that is going to increase your risk for diabetes because glucose is your blood sugar. And that is what has to do with diabetes.
And this is not only like the amount of sleep you're getting, this is like actual like good quality sleep, not too little and not too much.
Yes.
So a good night's sleep can also help to ward off heart disease.
Yes. Yeah. So when we have chronic sleep deprivation, it increases our heart rate, our blood pressure, and other chemicals that cause inflammation, which strains our heart. So if we have a strained heart, it's going to put us at risk for some kind of heart disease, whatever that might be. So yeah, we don't want to strain our hearts.
The next way that we can boost our health through good quality sleep is by increasing that libido.
Yes, listen up, guys. Listen up. Sleep can help your sex life. So yeah, not getting quality sleep can cause lower libidos and less interest in sex, which I know nobody's mind is really super blown by that. Obviously, if we're tired, you don't feel like putting the energy in to do that. So studies also found that men with sleep apnea can have lower testosterone levels. So if you have lower testosterone levels, guys, you're not going to want to do it so much. So work on your sleep apnea.
And the last way out of the 7 ways that sleeping can boost our health is by actually increasing fertility in both men and women.
Yep. So chronic sleep deprivation decreases secretion of reproduction hormones in both males and females. So this is not just something for females to worry about. This is for you men too that are trying to procreate and maybe are having trouble with that with your significant other. Work on your sleep. That might help.
If you guys are just tuning in, this is In It Together with Gabby and Sammy. I'm Gabby. This is Sammy. She's a mental health counselor and my co-host. We do this show on Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we talk about coping with emotional, social, and psychological well-being to promote self-healing and self-development. We are talking about sleep today. If you're just tuning in, we're going to cover what you missed a little bit. So we said some stats and facts about sleep. We talked about the 4 stages of sleep. We talked about just now a list of 7 ways that sleep can boost our health. And now we're going to get to some negative stuff. We're going to talk about what a lack of sleep can cause for us.
Yeah.
So, one thing that I found really interesting, and if you guys are new to me, you might not know, I'm a licensed physical therapist assistant, which doesn't usually 100% correlate with this show, but it does for some things, and sleep is one of them. Actually, I took 2 classes. It was a 2-part class on sleep, and the first class was on how sleep is directly correlated with physical pain, and the other class was just about how sleep is beneficial in our holistic health. So the one thing I found super interesting was that um, if you sleep for 5 hours or less per night for 5 days, or if you're up for 24 hours straight, you will have a 20% cognitive deficit. And what that means is that you would have the equivalent to a blood alcohol level of 0.08, which is legally drunk. Um, and this is something that I can super relate to. I used to work night shift. Do I have any night shifters in here? Hit a 1. Anybody work night shift? Um, Working night shift is rough. You're already up during the nighttime and asleep during the day, which is not the way that we should be sleeping. So you're already not really getting probably the best quality sleep you could. But most of us didn't sleep for many hours, and I think many of us did sleep for 5 or less on that night shift. I used to be a emergency medical dispatcher for an ambulance company on nights, and unfortunately, there have been times where medics or EMTs, whoever would be driving at the time, would fall asleep at the wheel, and they would get their ambulance involved in a crash, or they've totaled their ambulances. Some had patients and some didn't. It got to the point where they actually made a video, because there are cameras in the truck and outside of the truck. They made a video saying, like, here's what's happening if you're not getting good quality sleep. And you would actually see my coworkers that I worked with on a daily basis falling asleep at the wheel. Their partner was in the passenger, already asleep, and they would get in these accidents. And it's terrifying, especially when you put it in the perspective in like the medical world. Yeah, that's some pretty scary stuff.
Like, I don't know that guy.
Yes, and again, that's if you sleep for 5 hours or less for 5 days straight, or if you are up for 24 hours straight, which I know a lot of you guys like to do your 24-hour streams. Well, guess what, man?
Not good, guys. Not worth it.
Bad news bears, yeah.
Yes, definitely. So it also affects our life expectancy and the potential that you are going to develop a chronic illness. So sleep deprivation can cause increased blood pressure, which actually your blood pressure increases each time you're disrupted in your sleep. So when you're suddenly startled awake, or you're not completing that whole sleep cycle, your blood pressure is actually going to go up, which can cause hypertension. We already talked about how it impairs your control of your blood sugar. And we talked about increasing inflammation, which affects your heart rate. So there was 3 large studies that showed that sleeping 5 hours or less can increase your mortality by 15%. So if you are a regular 5-hour or less sleeper, your mortality is increased by 15%. So you're 15% more likely to die.
Scary. Yeah, that's scary. And you know what? I'm just gonna kind of chime in here. So if you guys are just chiming in, I'm a physical therapy assistant, and I took a couple classes on sleep actually, and not like you actually have a physical change like to your genetic makeup if you are if you chronically lack sleep. So at the ends of your DNA, they're called telomeres. They literally shorten eventually if you are this type of person who is up all night or doesn't sleep. It's like really wild. Like It gets down to like a cellular level, you know what I mean? Like that's really wild.
Yeah I think that's crazy that like on a like bodily structure level, your body is literally changing because of your lack of sleep. Like that's insane. So insane.
Guys, don't worry. We're gonna talk about how we can get better quality sleep here soon. I know this is some scary stuff, but it's real and it's.
We're gonna help
I think,
you. We're not just
yeah,
gonna help you.
yeah. We're not just gonna leave you with some scary stuff. Don't worry.
There's also psychological effects. Again, we're kind of like beating a dead horse with that one. But so mood disorders, depression, anxiety, ADHD, bipolar disorder, all those potential effects of lack of sleep.
And there is a correlation between physical pain and a lack of sleep. So I'm just going to kind of, and again, my information is kind of like from a physical therapy standpoint. So the example I'm going to give you is kind of something similar to that. So let's say you have pretty bad back pain and you're not sleeping very well. The lack of sleep alone will increase your pain. The pain receptors actually to make the pain receptors more sensitive so that you will feel like you're experiencing more pain. Now let's say you need to get a surgery for this back problem you have, and they didn't address the sleep or ask how you were sleeping, so you never address the sleep, which means you're in more pain than you probably really are. You're perceiving it worse because you are not getting that quality of sleep. So after your surgery, there's a really good chance that you'll be on some sort of medication like an opioid, a painkiller, which is a horrible kind of thing going on in our world right now with opioids. So just one dose of an opioid can completely disrupt your circadian rhythm, which is your internal clock that we talked about earlier that kind of tells you like it's time to wake up, it's time to go to bed. And guess what? Because your sleep's disrupted due to that opioid, you're in even more pain, which means you're going to keep taking those opioids. So just something to keep in mind from a physical therapy standpoint.
Yeah, that is a cycle that people need to realize and have that drawn out for them like that so they can make more informed decisions about pain medication.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole nother topic for another day.
Yep.
So last thing is memory. So when Gabby and I were first talking about this idea of doing a topic on sleep, I brought this information to her. So I had to make sure I got this in there for you guys because I have her freaking out a little bit now.
This is the last scary thing, and then we're going to get to some positive stuff, okay?
Actually, I'm going to give you a break from my face. You get to see a much more beautiful face, and we'll give you some good things.
Oh my gosh.
So memory, guys. So sleeping 5 hours or less, or 9 hours or more. So too little or too much. Those people did worse when they were giving memory and thinking skills tests, and were found to be 2 years older, like in their cognitive state of mind, than the people that were sleeping the correct amount of time. Also, it causes your blood vessels to narrow from the blood pressure and diabetes problems that are potentially like connected to all this. So when that happens, it can decrease the blood flow in your brain. It also, lack of sleep, can increase deposits of what's called beta amyloids in the brain. Beta amyloids are linked to declines in memory and thinking and increase your risk for dementia. So the more beta amyloids you have in your brain, the more likely you are to develop dementia.
Scary. That is terrifying. That is terrifying.
Yeah.
Guys, if you're just joining, this is In It Together with Gabby and Sammy. We're talking about sleep today. We did cover some positive stuff. We just talked about what a lack of sleep can do for us. Kind of some scary stuff here, but we are going to be telling you some awesome ways that we can try to get better quality sleep. And before we get to that, though, I'm going to have Sammy get out of the box because we have a special guest. Sammy, thank you so much. I'll see you soon.
Back.
We have a special guest today, guys. You might know him. He's a top badge on the app. He is a coach on Before and After with Aaron Kirby, and he was actually my coach. So this is really exciting that we're going to be able to work together in another way. Chris?
Hi.
Chris, how's it going?
It's going very well. How's it going in here?
It's going pretty good. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join us and be a part of this. I'm really excited.
Of course, absolutely. Yeah, no problem at all.
So I kinda introduced you, but if there's anyone here who might not know who you are, do you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, no. So I'm a top edge on this app. I've been on the app for a little over a year now. My mindset in my stream is if you're having a cruddy day or you just like need to smile, you just want to hear some music, come to my stream. That's what it's all about. Drama-free zone kind of thing like that. Just good vibes all the time. Legit, I just love to make people smile. Musical theater background, pursue theater in college, play sports my whole life. I focus my life on trying to be good at many different aspects of life. And now we try to learn about sleep and how that affects my life as well.
Yes. Well, so Chris was picked. We didn't pick anybody based off of their sleeping habits. We just picked Chris because we were like, let's get Chris on the show. And so we didn't ask him. We didn't know really much about his sleeping habits until after we established he was going to be on here. So there is a good sleep 10 list, and this was a list that was used in my physical therapy sleep education course. It's kind of a way to interview patients to see where they might be struggling in their sleep life or maybe where they're doing really well. Before I get into that list though, how do you actually know how many hours you sleep per night on average?
So I know we had talked about it. So I do honestly try to get between about 7 to 9 hours. I know that's always been like, I heard that years ago. So my focus when I'm actually trying to be cognizant of it is to get 7 to 9 hours at least. Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's awesome. So you seem to be doing pretty good just based off of that question. But let's dig in a little deeper. We're gonna just go through the list of 10, just to get to know you and your sleep patterns and see where you're at. So so the first thing on the top of the sleep 10 is setting a routine. Do you have a routine? Like a time you go to bed, maybe some stuff you do to relax before bed, anything like that?
So honestly, as many of y'all know, being on this app, it gets hard to have a certain routine. You could try to have your times of when you stream, but even if I stream, like I'll stream after this, I'll stream from like 9 until maybe 11, 11:30. So I'm not going to bed late, but then you kind of bounce around streams. So you're on your phone late. So my routine usually is once I start my stream and after that, I don't eat anything else. I don't like to put any food in my body. I like to just like allow the sleep to actually heal my body itself. I try not to look at my phone for like the last 20 to 30 minutes before I'm falling asleep. I don't want like the light to be in my eyes at the time. I just remember hearing all these little things from the years past. So when I try to go to bed, I try to like, again, give 2 hours before I eat anything. I try to drink a glass of water and I try to just relax as much as possible. But streaming to me is like uses so much energy that I end up wanting to fall asleep anyways. And just like, I'm so ready to pass out.
I hear ya. Is there a time of the night that you like try to aim for of like when to start like trying to wind down and go to bed? Or I know as a streamer you kind of have the freedom to just do, you know,
Yeah. So
pretty much whenever you want.
with what my body tells me, like nowadays, I have to push it to try to stream around like 9, 10 o'clock. But I feel my body start to get tired around 8:30, 9 o'clock. So I have to kind of keep it awake in order to stream. But it's just like I've started to follow my own body. I don't like, well, I'm gonna push myself, No, I listen to myself. I try not to drink too many energy drinks or caffeinated drinks, drink a lot of water and go along with that. So if I didn't have streaming, then yeah, I try to go to bed like 9:30, 10 o'clock, as like old man as that sounds. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So then we're gonna go to the second part of this 10 good sleep. Staying active, and you just mentioned, and I think a lot of us, if we know you, you are a pretty active person, so you seem to have that under your belt.
Yeah.
The one thing about exercising though is, do you ever exercise like at night, or are you like a daytime exerciser, like early in the morning?
I prefer like early morning, early afternoon exercising, or if I do exercise in the evening, I don't do it super late. Because if anything, it charges up my body, it revs up my body even more. So if I work out, I'm gonna work out at like 5 p.m., not like 9 p.m. Because if I'm going to bed like an hour or two later, like my body's just so hyped up and like everything's working and pumping from the workout that it's still gonna just like affect my sleep in that regard.
Right. The rule of thumb is that you shouldn't exercise within 3 hours of your bedtime, whenever you decide that is.
Yeah,
Because like you said, it does pump you up. It gives your adrenaline running, so you're probably not going to fall asleep anytime soon.
exactly.
Um, Number three is the stimulants that you take. So you already kind of mentioned you don't really drink a lot of energy drinks.
No,
Are you do you drink caffeine every day? I mean, it doesn't really, honestly, it's not a bad thing to drink caffeine. It's just the moderation and like when you drink it.
honestly, no. I'll make like some matcha teas, which is very caffeinated. It's like a stronger version of green tea, but there are a lot of health benefits to it. But I drink that once in a while. I'll drink some pre-workout for my workouts in the morning/afternoon. But I'm not someone that like relies on coffee all the time. I don't sit there and drink
Yeah.
like lots of coffees a day. That's never been my thing.
And we kind of talked about caffeine earlier. So if you are a caffeine drinker, the rule of thumb for this is to not drink it 6 hours before you're going to bed, because it can actually, so caffeine disrupts the circadian rhythm. We mentioned that. It can actually decrease your sleep by an hour if you do drink it
Yeah,
within 6 hours of your sleep. That's pretty that stinks.
that's crazy because you know a lot of people are drinking like coffees, especially on here to stay awake, to stream.
Yeah.
You're doing whatever they can. I know I've done it too. If like I'm doing a late night stream, I want to drink the caffeine to try to keep me awake, but it's only gonna hurt you in the end.
For sure. Number four is cool and quiet. So is there like a certain temperature that you like keep your apartment at for sleep, or do you even think about the temperature of your apartment?
So I mean, I do like it a little cooler, but unfortunately, my apartment is kind of just like you just go with what it is. I don't have a thermostat in here. It's kind of one of those complexes where it's like whatever the temperature is, it is.
Yeah,
Being
been
wintertime,
there.
I have the heat on, but it's still a little cooler, which I like. So like I still like I'd rather get under the covers than if I get a little warm, I can take the covers off. Then like okay, I'm sweating, I can't do anything about it. I hate the feeling of sweating when I'm trying to go to sleep.
Oh, I hear ya. So I thought this was kind of interesting. So the optimal temperature to like fall asleep at and have good quality sleep is between 60 and 67 degrees Fahrenheit. I think 60 degrees is freezing. So I was kind of surprised by that. But
Yeah,
yeah, like super hot temperatures really don't give you very good quality sleep because you are like sweating and stuff.
it's uncomfortable. It feels sticky and gross. No,
Yeah.
do it.
And what about do you have silence when you sleep? Do you sleep with white noise, anything like that?
Um, I've been able to do silence more and more, but most of my life I like to put on a TV in the background. I put it lightly, and I don't really like to hear the noise too often, so I'll put on The Office because I've seen that like 100 times through. So I don't worry about like, oh, what's happening on the show because I already know what's happening. But I told you, and so this makes me sound kind of like a serial killer, but I lately enjoyed because of like how like dark the music is and how like calm the background sounds are. I've been watching a lot of scary movies at night when I go to bed. So like if I'm falling asleep on the couch, like I'll go to Netflix and put like a scary movie on, just because like it's the ambiance is so like calming. I know it has its scary moments, blah blah, but it's like it's so calm. It's not like some like upbeat, funny comedy where it's like all this loud noises. Like I don't know why. It's just I've loved it lately. I can't
No
help it.
way. I wouldn't be able to do that. I can't even watch a scary movie by myself.
I love it. Oh yes, Chris. All of them.
Normally we would like discourage TV and stuff, but the way you're using it is not like you're sitting there watching TV like you said. You could be watching a show and you're like interested in it, but you just put on The Office or a scary
Yeah, it
movie.
has been something again. Exactly. I'm not trying to hear like the second I try to focus on it is the second that it takes away from my sleep. It's more like just
Yeah.
that background noise.
Number six is be calm. So are you doing any sort of like relaxation routines before you get ready to sleep?
I mean, I haven't been doing too much lately because, like I said, usually when I get off my stream at night, like I'm just exhausted and beat from
Hmm.
it all. But if I do feel tense, like I'll just I'll just do some deep stretches and deep breathing,
Yep.
and that just does the trick right there. That's it's as simple as that. You just got to take those deep breaths. So many times I forget about it. I tell my parents, I tell my sister about it. They're always so tense. It's like, when was the last time you actually thought about that you inhaled and exhaled a deep breath? You don't remember because half the time you're living off like just short breath, because you're always moving.
Yeah.
Everybody sitting here right now should sit right now, inhale for 3 seconds and exhale for 3 seconds because I'm sure you haven't done that in at least like hours.
You're not even wrong. I did some deep breathing before my show, actually.
Yeah. This is like
Yeah,
okay, here we go.
yeah, I always get myself a little worked up before my show, so I did a little deep breathing.
Yeah.
So number 7 is removing distraction. So the TV, we're kind of gonna say for you, is not really a distraction, but cell phones, clock watchers, huge. Who's a clock watcher in here? Hit a 1. If you wake up in the middle of the night and you start looking at your phone or looking at whatever clock you have, bad. Don't do that anymore. It's not good. I used to be that person, but I am not. Are you a clock watcher, Chris?
I'm honestly not. I mean, I'm lucky in the sense of, one, I stream, so I can sleep till when I wanted to, even though my body doesn't let me sleep in. But also, when I work as a server. So I don't have to be at work until like 10:30, even like as a server. So I can always sleep in until at least 9. So I'm not sitting like, oh, I gotta wake up at this time. Like, oh crap, now you're like, I feel that I don't feel the stress of like having to wake up like super early. So it's nice. I don't actually do that at all. And I don't even know like what that feeling is.
Oh, I do. So many of us do. Well, that's a good thing. So everybody's life and situations are different. So maybe different aspects of your sleep life maybe you'll struggle in, or maybe you won't.
Yeah.
So it just depends on the lifestyle we all live too, of course. Number 8 is one that I think a lot of people don't think about, but body alignment is actually really important when it comes to sleep. And I'm a little extra. I have back problems. I actually bought a posture pillow to try to help, because I would always wake up. I sleep with my arm like this. I always wake up in pain. So the posture pillow, I've been using it for like a week and a half. It's actually pretty cool. I don't expect all of you guys to go out and buy posture pillows. It's a little extra probably, but they are pretty cool and pretty helpful. I don't know. Do you like sleep in any crazy positions or anything like that?
I don't sleep in crazy positions, but like I look at what's wrong with my body right now, and like I have a little bit of shoulder pain. And I truly believe it's because I sleep on my right arm, but I don't just sleep my arm, like I'll push it forward. So I feel like I probably lay there for 8 hours pushing my whole shoulder forwards. And it's like, why do I have shoulder pain? It's like, it's probably because of that. Or the fact that I'm so lazy that I'll fall asleep on the couch. My bedroom's right there, but I'll wake up in the middle of the night and it's like, it's more comfy on the couch. Even though it's not going to be good for my back, but I'd rather stay on the couch than move 10 feet and wake myself up.
I hear you there. I'm a couch napper.
I love it. I love sleep. Like, it's so weird. Like, for how close? Legit, 10 feet away, but I'd rather just lay on the couch and fall asleep.
We talked about number 9 was tune it out. That's kind of like white noise, silence, or in your case TV. I don't know how we managed. I think I managed to combine 2 different ones, but the last one is waking up to natural light. So you said that you like have a schedule, but you don't. You kind of listen to your body. Do you tend to like wake up when the sun is up?
Honestly, my body just wakes me up at a specific time, whether the sun's up or not. Because I tend to I open up the blinds, but then I'll kind of close them at night just so like people can't see in my place. So I'll kind of just let my body wake itself up naturally. And then I'll open up the blinds and get the light in and then like feel the energy from all of that. But it all depends on what the situation. The problem is, again, I just don't want people seeing into my apartment.
Yeah, I hear you.
Close up my blinds.
Now you're not one to usually sleep in though. You're usually up pretty early, right?
Thank you, mister. Yeah, oh yeah. No matter what, I can't sleep in past 9 a.m. 9 a.m. would be like the cutoff. Whether I went to bed at 4 a.m., 5 a.m., my body will still always wake me up at 9 a.m. That's how I know I can't stay up super late unless I'm going to take naps during the day, because my body will physically wake me up early every morning.
And even though we are talking about like quality sleep, and maybe if you do only sleep for 4 hours and you wake up at 9, it's actually recommended that you just wake up. Mm-hmm. Even if you wake up like 30 minutes before your alarm, it's recommended you just wake up, because that extra 30 minutes of you trying to sleep isn't going to really do much quality for you. It's not going to do much for you.
When you wake up, you should like actually wake up and get up and start your day. Because if you lay there for like 20 more minutes, then your body gets, I forget what they actually say about it, I don't know the actual like health reason, but they say if you just lay around and just kind of like lay in bed and watch TV, your body already like has a sense of complacency. Yeah. As soon as you wake up, you should get out of bed.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Chris, you sound like you have sleep down pretty much, I think. So you have a routine, but you don't. But you listen to your body. You know, your life situation at this point has allowed you to have that type of freedom to just listen to your body. Other people, if I did this interview with them, probably wouldn't have quite the same conversation with me. But you stay active, which is helpful to sleep well. You're pretty cool with caffeine and your stimulants. You can't control the temperature of your apartment, but you can at least control like the blanket and like the clothes you're wearing while you sleep.
Exactly.
You have, oh yeah, dark lights out. That's the one I skipped. Do you have any lights on when you sleep, or do you sleep completely in the dark? I knew I
Sometimes
was missing one.
the little LED lights that I have going around my room, like they're like a pink tint to them, usually for like when I stream. I'll sometimes leave them on, or I'll just turn them off completely. Um, but I don't like bright lights. I'll have a little bit of light, but I just don't like bright lights going on.
So one thing that I like to mention is I'm sure a lot of us are on our phones probably up until the point where we decide to go to bed. You said that you're pretty mindful of, okay, I should probably put my phone down like 20 minutes before I go to bed. So the light on our phone is actually kind of like the light that we get from the sun. So whenever we're looking at our phones, we're not ready to sleep because we're looking at sunlight. That's what our mind thinks. So there is a way to turn on blue light on your phone, and you can actually set it for certain times. I actually did it, and I think I mean, I guess I'm
Like,
being
I think it
biased
works.
here. I think it works. I mean, there's definitely a difference when you compare it to like a regular phone screen. But turning on that blue light kind of gives you the you're more likely going to have a better sleep experience since you're not looking at like your complete like red light phone.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was the one I forgot. I knew there was something on this. I gave you the good sleep 9. I didn't give you 10, but here we go. We got to 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe let's see. So you keep your room maybe a little bit lit. I would say that we probably would recommend to not do that, but again,
It's more so the
everybody
laziness of going over and like grabbing my little remote to turn it off, where it's just like, I know I can fall asleep right now instead of going all the way around to turn it off.
I hear ya. So you do stretches and deep breathing before sleep, which is great. You like you said, you put your phone down before you go to sleep, like 20 minutes or so. You do have a TV on when you sleep, but you use it in a way where it's kind of comforting and not in a way where you're watching TV and you're obsessed with what's going on. Your body alignment maybe could do a little bit of work if you're crashing on the couch. If you're sleeping in silly ways, you might kind of have some pain when you wake up. Um, and you do wake up in the morning at least by 9, so I would say you're waking up with the natural light, so
Yeah.
you have sleep down pretty good, Chris. I don't know if anybody in this chat would have a completely different conversation with me, but if you would have the opposite conversation, I'd be very interested to have it with you someday. I'm actually going to post this list on my Instagram probably by tomorrow if you guys ever want to just use it as a rule of thumb to evaluate where you're at in sleep and where you need to work on things. Chris, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it so much. Is there anything you would like to plug or add before you get up out of here?
I mean, honestly, if you want to, like, if I'm plugging my stream, if you want to come by and just like crack a smile and just like hang out, come on, hang out. That's up to you. I don't like to force people to come hang out in my stream. I do coach on before and after on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, and Aaron Kirby's live. So we do have that going on tomorrow night. But other than that, it's just, one of the bigger things with sleep too is stress. And if you're full of lies and you're full of guilt, it's just going to hurt yourself even more. So as long as you can find ways to de-stress in your life, along with the breathing and the stretches, it's only going to make you feel better. So try to find ways to get rid of that stress in the healthiest ways possible every day, and they'll lead to better sleep at night for you.
Chris, thank you very, very much. Guys, please hit Chris with a favorite. He is such an amazing person. He's so positive. Please go check out Aaron Kirby's stream tomorrow before and after. It's 7 p.m. Eastern time. He is a coach on there, and he was my coach, and it was such a really fun experience. So definitely go check that out. Chris, thank you so much. If you could exit yourself, have a great night. Hope you sleep well. Guys, if you're just joining, this is In It Together with Gabby and Sammy. Sammy is getting back in the box here. She is my co-host and a mental health therapist. We just got done talking with Chris about his sleep patterns, and he actually has pretty good sleep, I would think. So I'm
No,
impressed.
he's doing it. We all need him as our mentor, I think.
Yeah, I know.
That could be your next line of work there, Chris, is like sleep mentor. I think that's a good
Yes.
gig for you.
So guys, we're about to close the show down now with some tips to get better sleep. There are some, I'm going to kind of recap some of the ones we've already talked about. So there are 12 tips that we have for you. So the first one is to have a regular bedtime and relax routine. So we kind of talked to Chris about his routine. So this kind of means like doing some things before sleep, like maybe meditating or deep breathing, baths, reading a book before you go to sleep versus like being on your phone, which might kind of hinder you because you're looking at that bright light. Of course, you could turn the blue light on too. But yeah, so getting a regular bedtime routine, practicing relaxation breathing, exercising regularly can actually help you with your sleep. You just cannot do it within 3 hours of going to sleep because it can just, you're kind of pumped up when you exercise. So you're not really trying to go to bed.
And we highly suggest that you do it because of all the reasons we stated last week. Was it last
Yeah.
week?
I think it was 2 weeks ago. We talked about art last
It's
week.
all blurring together now.
We did talk about exercise and its benefits on our mental health. If you guys missed that episode, subscribe to my YouTube channel. We have most of the shows, I think, from like episode 7 on. So if you guys ever want to rewatch. So the fourth tip for getting good quality sleep is to limit your caffeine. We kind of talked about how caffeine actually disrupts your circadian rhythm and therefore disrupts your sleep. So no alcohol after dinner is another tip because Sammy mentioned it is a sedative, but once you get past the part where you're actually sleeping good, your brain kind of turns back on and you can't really get back to bed and you might keep waking up. So that's just no fun. Number 6 is making sure that your bed is comfortable, that you're in a dark place, that it's quiet, or maybe you have some white noise. So like crashing on the couch might not be acceptable. You might wake up in some pain. Unless you're Chris. Chris is like, he's a good sleeper, even if it is on the couch. There are some more tips we might have not mentioned. If you'd like to mention them, Sammy, I know there's a few.
Yep. So number 7 is bed is only for sleep and lovemaking. So we do not want to go lay in bed and watch TV, play on our phone, read a book, that kind of thing. What happens with that is for those of us that get a little anxious about falling asleep, it creates your brain kind of pairs bed with anxiety. So even if you're not getting in bed feeling anxious, it may start to just do that automatically. And we don't want your brain to make that link with the bed. So only for lovemaking and sleep. If you can't, number 8 is if you can't sleep in 15 to 20 minutes, get up and do something relaxing, not on your phone though. So nothing with that light. So I would say probably no phone, no TV, no electronics. But again, get out of the bed because we don't want your brain to associate that with anxiety. Find something relaxing to do. Stretch, read a relaxing book, listen to relaxing music, whatever. Something relaxing. Take deep breaths, do a guided imagery, imagine yourself sleeping, but do it out of the bed. A bath, yes. Number 9 is schedule demanding and stressful tasks early in the day. So this kind of follows this theme of do the mentally and physically demanding things early so that your brain has time to unwind. If I'm doing my demanding tasks at 7 o'clock at night and I want to be to sleep at 9 o'clock, my brain still might be revved up from how demanding that task was, and I'm not going to fall asleep when I actually want to. Mm-hmm. Don't go to bed hungry, but don't eat a huge meal. So, I think again, if we can eat enough of a meal at dinner time to not eat anything before, else before bed, that's probably good. But if you need to have a snack, make sure it's a snack, not a whole nother meal. No fourth meals. 11 is limit fluid intake after dinner to prevent waking up to use the bathroom. So you guys know kind of how your body functions and figuring out how much should I drink and when should I stop drinking it to make sure that I'm releasing it all from my body before I actually go lay down so I don't have to wake up every 20 minutes to go pee. And I know as you get older, that gets a little bit harder and maybe less likely to do, but it is something to try to monitor. And then the last one is don't take naps during the day. So I know a lot of people were asking about naps, and I wasn't purposely avoiding you. I just knew this was coming. Don't take naps. Don't take naps. I know you all love your naps. Try not to do it because you're just setting yourself up to move that sleep time further and further into the night, and it's really not doing you any good because if it's a nap, you're probably not getting quality sleep anyway. Now, they do say if you absolutely cannot take it and you have to take a nap, 20 to 30 minutes in the early afternoon. So not 6 o'clock at night. 6 o'clock at night is not a nap. That's like going to bed. It's not a nap. If it's like 1 o'clock in the afternoon and you take a 20-minute nap, okay. And they say that because they don't want you starting to fall into that stage 3 and stage 4 sleep. Because if you do and then you wake up, you're going to be groggy. I'm sure people can relate to that, being woken up in those stages. That's why you guys were talking about if you wake up before your alarm, just stay awake. And that's usually because we don't want to take that chance that you are going to wake up in one of those stages and then not be able to function to your fullest ability.
There's one last thing I want to add. And Sammy, I don't even think that you and I talked about it, and I meant to mention it, but does anyone know what sleep banking is? It's something that I learned in my PTA course on sleep.
I could guess, but
you could guess. I'm sure that it's probably easy to guess. So if you know in advance that you are going to have to like maybe like let's say you're going to drive to Playlist from Ohio.
What was the term one more time?
Sleep banking.
Banking.
Sleep banking. So let's say I'm going to drive to Playlist in September from Ohio, where I'm at now, all the way to Orlando, Florida. That's like 16 hours, I think, from where I am, which means I'm going to be driving a lot, right? So if we know in advance we're going to be in a demanding situation where we're going to probably not sleep, it is possible to bank your sleep, which means like I think they said like 3 or 4 days before your event where you're going to be not sleeping, to sleep an extra 1 to 2 hours those days, and you can actually bank up your sleep. And this does actually happen if you lack sleep and then you do it afterwards, but if you're doing that, there's a really good chance that you don't have a sleep schedule and you have a sleep problem. So that's not recommended, but it is possible to sleep bank before an event. So I thought that was really interesting.
And it sounds like probably something that you shouldn't make a habit of doing.
Oh yeah, definitely don't make it a habit.
It's a big event.
Definitely don't make it a habit, but it is something that's possible if you ever knew in advance. It is really cool to know. So guys, that is pretty much the end of our show here. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I do have a tarot card that I always end the show with. It's from a deck called Soul Truth. They're self-awareness cards by Brianne Hovey. Oh, the questions. I apologize, y'all.
I'm done with y'all. I'm going to sleep.
I know.
I'm ready for it.
I am ready to go to bed. Actually, I do apologize. I sat here like, I don't care what they have to say. I don't care if they have questions. Totally psych. If you guys have any questions, we would love to hear them. If you have any takeaway from this episode, let me know like what you've learned. Do you wake up right before you're about to die in a dream?
I typically do. I don't know if that's a rule of thumb. I've always heard that's a rule of thumb, but
yeah, I do too. Yeah, that's something that we that's kind of out of our scope. We don't know the exact answer to that question, but it is interesting.
Experience, not my professional knowledge. I actually don't know a lot about dreams, which we would like to dive into one day. So I need to brush up on some of that stuff.
What are your views on oversleeping? See, that's interesting too. I realize now that we didn't really talk a whole lot about oversleeping.
We had one little thing as far as what it did with memory.
Yeah.
So I think oversleeping, it depends on the person, right? Like we talked about our preteens and our teens needing lots and lots of extra sleep. So they're going to look like they're oversleepers, but they're not. I think oversleeping plays a huge role in potentially mental illness. Because we've talked about this a little bit in the past of those like negative cycles we get caught up in. So if you're oversleeping because you're actually tired, that's maybe one thing. But if you're oversleeping to avoid, that's going to have bad mental health side effects. So just Depends. I hate
Sleepwalking is something I know. We can research for you. Maybe we'll do an oversleeping episode. What causes a person to sleepwalk? See, that's something that actually is out of my scope, so I don't know. But I actually find it interesting because I know there's someone on TikTok who sleepwalks, and they actually like keep track of it with cameras to their house, and they sometimes post it on TikTok, and it's really wild. So yeah, I tend to wonder what stage of sleep they're in for that.
My guess would be stage 3 because it wouldn't make sense for stage 4.
Yeah,
because your body is paralyzed. I don't know. I can look more into that if you guys want that information.
what can cause sleep paralysis? We did talk about this a little bit.
Yeah, so you might have missed this, Cincy. We talked about sleep paralysis. So sleep paralysis usually occurs during REM sleep. I don't know if it even occurs any other time. So during REM sleep, your body is paralyzed, other than your eyes and your like respiratory muscles. And what happens is somehow your body is awoken, but your body is woken up so quickly that it doesn't release the chemicals to release your body from that paralysis. So if you suffer from that, just try to remind yourself, my body's going to catch up to my brain. It just needs a couple seconds.
Does anyone else have any other questions about sleep? Does anyone have any takeaways from the show today? If you learned anything that maybe you didn't know before, I'd be interested to hear what you learned. Listen, since we started talking about sleep, I have taken action to get better at sleeping, and I have to tell you that I've been falling asleep at least by like 11 o'clock and waking up around 7, which is like really early. But my roommate wakes up that early too, so I just wake up with them, and honestly, my days have been way better. I've been feeling way better. Banking sleep is good to know. Yeah, isn't that super interesting? And we're not recommending do that all the time, of course, but it is really, really cool.
Cody said he looked it up. Sleepwalking is stage 3. Yes.
Good guess.
Right.
Good go, Sammy. That's what I would have guessed if I had to.
Sometimes.
Alrighty. I have always tried lately on avoiding looking at the alarm clock before it goes off. Yeah, I don't look at the clock. I find that I get more anxious and then I don't sleep well if I look at the clock. So I actually stopped looking at the clock when I was in high school because I found that it was really bothering me. So I have, for years, I've never ever been a clock watcher. I just can't.
Yeah, I'm that person that like needs to look and I'm like, oh yes, I still have 2 more hours. Hurry up, go back to sleep.
I always usually wake up really close to my alarm, so I don't ever want to look. I'm just like, what? Just surprise me.
If I don't look, I'll wake up every 15 minutes because I'm like, well, maybe I'm really close to that time. So it almost soothes me to be able to look at it.
Racing thoughts keep me awake. Yeah, see that's where I would say maybe before you go to sleep, even an hour before you go to bed, maybe kind of ditch the phone, make sure your alarm is set and stuff, and maybe do some meditation. Yeah, meditation, deep breathing, read a book, anything to kind of get your mind off of stuff.
It's an interesting comment.
You should be an officer, Officer Sammy.
Not sure I understand that one, but okay, I'll go with
Yeah.
Start a
nightly journal. That's a really good idea, actually. We're probably going to do an episode on journaling at some point, so that'll be really cool.
Sleepwalking is caused by feeling overtired, lack of enough sleep, irregular sleep schedule, noisy, different sleep environment, stress. Thank you, Cody. Cody is our fact finder.
Cody, thank you for finding the facts, sir. Appreciate that. All right. Any more questions for Sammy or I before we close up with our tarot card for the night?
You guys all did phenomenal for sticking through it with us and not falling asleep on us. Talking about sleep tends to make us want to sleep.
If you were here since the beginning, hit a 1. I just want to see who
Poppy Stark.
Who was here at the beginning of the show. Poppy Stark, John, thank you guys. Thunder, Hooligan, Sean, Rocket Leader, Lex, Cody, Mike. Mike, you were here the whole time, and I appreciate that, Mike. Mike's an awesome person. I'm so glad he's here with us tonight. Hay was here. Chris from Florida, thank you guys so much. If we are done taking questions from you guys, we'll close the show with our handy dandy tarot card. This is Soul Truth. It's a deck by Brienne Hovey. The point of this is to take soul-driven advice. So hopefully this will be meaningful to you in some way. It'll be posted on my Instagram. If you would like to reply to the card, there's usually always sort of like a journal entry option. Not always, but sometimes. So this card says, am I getting enough rest to restore my energy and fully show up to my life? You are the asset. This body is your vehicle. Notice how your body is feeling, how much sleep you are getting, and what you can do to help your body rest. Today's soul action says take a bath, put on some lavender essential oil, go to bed ridiculously early, or give yourself a timeout today. Notice how your body is thanking you. Today's mantra says, the more I give myself permission to rest, the more I can contribute.
I love it.
There it is. So guys, thank you so much for being here with us. This is In It Together with Gabby and Sammy. We do the show on Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we talk about different mental health topics. Next week, we are going to have Blake Premier on as our featured guest for vision boards. So if you guys are interested in learning how to create a vision board, if you'd like to see my vision board and Blake's vision board and talk a little bit about our goals and aspirations, this will be a pretty cool opportunity to get to know us a little better. So make sure you hit that favorite button before you go. Make sure you favorite Sammy before you go so you can hang out with her in her streams. Shout out to all my gifters. I'm going to just call you D because I can't say your name on here because we're featured. Ash Marie, Ruthless, Chalk, Sassy Skittle, Chris, which thank you, Chris, so much again for being our guest. We appreciate it. Daniel, Chris Dude, Poppy Stark, Johnny, Jameson, Ice, Penny Lane. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate it. If you guys would like to see any more exclusive content like our resources, please follow us on Instagram. It's inittogether_MeetMe. Also, if you'd like to rewatch any of the shows or potentially see some exclusive content maybe in the future on YouTube, I do have a YouTube channel. Just look up Gabby Uke. It's going to be the same photo I have right now on here. So subscribe if you'd like to rewatch any episodes. And thank you guys so much for being here. This was an awesome show. I'm glad that you guys got a lot of information and
remember too that the sleep tips are going to be posted on the Instagram, guys. So if you didn't get to write them down, they're going to be on the Instagram if you want those.
Yes.
Bye,
awesome.
Guys. I'm gonna exit out. I'll see you guys next week.
Guys, I appreciate you so much for being here. I'm gonna look here. I am still featured for now, I think, for another 10 minutes possibly. I'm actually going to continue going live here around 10:30. So if you guys want to come and hang out, make sure you have me favorited so you can catch my blast. Thank you guys so much for being here. You are amazing. And I hope you guys have a wonderful night. We'll see you next Tuesday for Vision Boards with Blake Premier.